Welcome to the Truck Stop Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Reed,
And I'm
and
Malcolm Smith.
thank you for joining us today for episode number 5. And Malcolm, let's dive right into this. I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today. Um, we're going to be talking about tractor trailers versus dump trucks. Let me kill something over here. Okay. We're going to be talking about tractor trailers versus dump trucks. Which lane is better? We want to have just an honest, open conversation about which sector of the industry has a more promising future. I'd like to approach this, and let's just, for those who don't know, I'm Kevin Reed, the founder and former CEO of the National Minority Trucking Association. And Malcolm is the founder and CEO of the National Dump Trucking Association. Um, and Malcolm is about to have a huge launch and a major event here in Atlanta coming up sometime within the next month, and you'll hear more about it. It's going to be a big event, and as they're launching the organization. And I say that because I think we're more than qualified to have this conversation and to talk about these sectors of the industry. And what we'd like to give our viewers an opportunity to hear and understand is to get a perspective of the industry. We want to talk about it from 3 different perspectives. We want to give an open view of it from a driver's perspective. If you were a driver coming into the industry, coming into trucking, what are the pros and cons of coming into the dump truck space versus the 18-wheeler tractor trailer space? If you're coming into the industry, or if you're trying to understand the pros and the cons from a business perspective or fleet owner perspective, if you're in business, whether it be an owner operator or fleet owner, let's talk about the pros and cons as we go into the second level of it. And then there's another level I'd like to talk about the pros and cons, and that's investment from an investor's perspective. Over the years, and in my teaching and my courses, I've had a lot of people that have come into the industry as investors. Not a driver, not interested in being a driver, but I'm looking at investing into the trucking industry or backing a trucking company or financially backing a trucking company. So we want to talk about the pros and the cons of both sectors from those 3 perspectives. And let's first talk about it. And Malcolm's going to be on the side of, who's going to give us his expertise on the side of dump trucks. He's going to talk about the pros and cons of each level, and I'll talk about the pros and the cons of the tractor trailer perspective. This is not necessarily a debate. We want to give you the honest view from both sides, what this will look like, the positives and the negatives, and then ultimately we're going to give our overall perspective, and we're going to let you decide on your own. But we'll give you a very it will be coming from a place of experience at all levels. So let's dive in, and before we dive in, I also want to shamelessly plug, some upcoming things that we're going to be doing. We're going to have a upcoming segment called Fix My Trucking Company. That's something we're going to be profiling and helping individuals that are in some really painful spots in the trucking industry to build their trucking companies. We're going to do this live on air, and we're going to have a segment called Fix My Trucking Company. And we're going to have a spinoff from this show. I'm not going to reveal it yet. It'll be launching sometime in the next 2 weeks. It's for truckers, and it's a different perspective, something different. We'll get into that another time, but there's something else that's coming soon. And down in the description box, there's a link to our upcoming webinar, upcoming this Sunday, and it's relationship selling and how to bid on trucking contracts with myself and a very high-level corporate now coach and government contracting specialist. So we're going to teach individuals about selling, about getting contracts, and how to go about securing bids and high level contracts and how to put together your sales pitch and have to go out how to go after shippers directly to shippers, how to construct a sales pitch, build a sales program for your trucking company, and then once you get in the door, how to go through the process of bidding, going through a high level bid and what that looks like. So the link is in the description box for that. So let's dive in, Malcolm. Let's talk about first the driver's perspective coming into the dump truck space. Um, the pros. Let's talk about the pros
Okay.
of being a driver coming into the dump truck space. So if I were uh, trying to determine, I want to be a truck driver, and I'm going to go get my CDLs. What are the advantages of coming into the dump truck space?
Well,
Let's talk
you
about from the aspect of pay, time in CDL school. What does that look like? What
I
are
was
the
just gonna
advantages?
start you there. I was just when you
Yeah,
hit
yeah.
that. So starting right there from CDL school, you can go to a CDL school and get your CDLs in 2 weeks. We it's schools out Cat Law, some other trucking schools that that they have programs for Class B license because you only need a Class B license to drive a dump truck, and so
That's what we wanted to touch.
you can
So
go.
don't need the Class A. We don't need the Class A.
Not
What's
you do
the
not need
what's the
Class B.
difference between the Class B and the Class A for those that don't know?
The Class B is just like Class B is for standard like box trucks, 28 foot box trucks.
Mhm.
It's depending on the amount of weight that it is, the gross vehicle weight.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't remember right off top how much it is gross vehicle weight, but I know we like 64,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. That's what we have to stay up under. So
Mhm.
anything more than that, you need a Class A. But
Okay.
yeah, Class B, you can go and get in 2 weeks. First week is classroom. You go and train. The next week, you go and start to, go through the maneuvers. That's when you go on the field test or the road test.
Mhm.
And you go and you get your CDLs. You train Monday through Thursday, and you take your test on Friday.
Wow.
And
So,
that's you
so
get your Class B.
so it's not clearly as expensive or as expensive and as lengthy to get that training to go become a Class B driver as opposed to the tractor trailer side.
Yes.
What are some of the other pros of um, being a company driver for a dump truck space? What are some of the other pros?
So some of the other pros is the flexibility of the schedule. So
Mhm.
dump truck number one. Let's start here. You're local, so
Right.
we aren't going no more than 100 miles out from where our base is. So we we can do day and night work as well. So that's where the
Mhm.
flexibility comes in. So if there's someone women drivers, a lot of times women like to take their kids to school in the morning. They like to and have a flexible schedule. So what they do, a lot of times they'll do night work. Night work
Ah,
gives them a flexible time schedule to be able to work, while the kids are asleep, as well as when they come home, when they get off around like 5 in the morning. They prepare their kids, get them ready for school, take them to school, and then that's the time they sleep when they're at school. So then
mhm.
once they, wake up, they may go get them, pick them up, bring them home, then they're getting prepared for the next night. So it gives you flexible options depending on how your life is scheduled. So day and night work, which also for drivers, it's just very beneficial to them because, for an example, say if you have something to do in the morning, or say you have something to do during night work, you can always make up your shift if there's an opening, in the truck on day or night shift. As well as I keep bringing it back, it's local, so you're at home, you get to spend time with your family. You can, and we'll talk about that on the owner operator side, but
Right.
um, that I said now that's what on the opposite, that's the flexibility we have to offer to drivers. We're able to get drivers a little bit more. Our recruiting pitch is a little more like, hey,
Right. Right. Right.
come on, man. I know you've been on the road for this amount of time. Hey, come on, let's chill, spend more time with your family. Drive 8 hours a day, maybe 10.
Right.
You're in the city, not too far out, wherever you live. It's 30-minute commute maybe to the truck. Get
Right.
in the truck, go to work, come back home, go back to your family.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. So now let's talk about pay. Um, what does the average pay look like starting out Class B dump truck driver? Let's talk about what the potential is. Let's give it to them from a couple of different perspectives. Let's say what is the hourly rate? Where is that range from the low to the top end? And then what does, guys want to hear that number, like kind of money they can bring home weekly?
So it varies because what we like in dump truck as an owner, we like dump truck operators who have experience. So we don't want to have to. I mean, I've seen dump trucks flip a couple of times, and so what you don't want is that call that you're saying, "Oh man, I flipped the dump truck." So we do extensive training for people who have never driven a dump truck because there's certain maneuvers and certain things you have to know in order to be successful as a dump truck driver, and to get back to your family with my company, with the association. The one thing we're preaching is get back home to your family. So
Absolutely.
speeding
Awesome.
does not matter. All that
Awesome.
other stuff doesn't matter. Get back home to your family. That's all we care about. So
Right.
sometimes when you bring somebody in that doesn't have experience, it's going to take a little lengthy time to train them. But it's easier to get trained, and I say dump truck is quicker. You can, I mean, you're local. It's just really learning maneuvers. So,
Mhm.
what was the question you asked me before?
Uh,
Yeah.
you're getting old, Malcolm. You're trying to catch up with
No,
me.
I just got so I'm ready. I'm ready to get into it, man. I'm so excited because I love talking about this, man. The dump truck spaces. I really
Awesome.
I believe in it. So
Awesome. No, we were just talking about the pay structure. What
okay,
what does the pay look like? The range from the low end to the high end on the
okay.
hourly, and then what can a driver say? Hey, I bring this home a week. What can they look to be able to tell the wives, honey? If I go into this type of money, I can bring home every week.
So I say in when I first started, it was probably like starting off. It was like $18 an hour, starting off with no experience.
Hmm.
Now starting is like 22, 23 an hour, and then if you're doing night work is you're gonna hit up, and I've heard of drivers now making $30 an hour for night work. So
Okay.
but the reason I get it, I'd rather pay a driver whatever if I know he's my main guy, my main woman that's gonna take care of that thing out, at night, to where you're not calling me at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, saying, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened. So you pay your more experienced drivers up to the range of 30. I'm not saying that everybody's 30, I'm just saying, but that's where I've heard prices are now because of
Hmm.
inflation, because everything is going up higher. But I mean, let's do the math. Let's say $30 an hour times, let's say 10 hours,
Hmm.
$300 a day, $300 a day times 5 days.
Right.
I mean, it's 1,500 a week if
Yeah.
if you're up in the
Yeah.
30s. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can make pretty good money as a driver for with dump truck.
Listen, for a company driver at home every night, if we had a checks on who wins each part, that win might go to the dump truck side. Or that win
now,
might go to the dump truck
now,
side.
let me say this. I gotta say this. $30 an hour is, I'm talking about experience, you on your stuff,
Right.
the
Right.
driver, like the owner trust you. He knows. I mean, you may even have other jobs while you're out there. You may be managing the fleet while you're at the too now. So let me not. I don't want everybody to get on and say, "Oh, I can make 30." Let me now. Let's scale it back
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But
Let's be realistic.
that's you said from the low end, from
Hmm.
18
From
to
the
up to
low end to the high
$30.
end. Right.
Yes. So that's
Okay.
where the
Awesome.
range is.
Awesome. Okay. So those are the pros of money, being able to be home every night. Um, that's pretty good. So now let's talk about the cons. What are the negatives
Now
of
the next.
coming into the dump truck space as a company driver? What's the
Okay.
downside?
So the downside is you may be off a couple of days if it's raining. If it rains, if it's depending on the material that you're hauling. Let's say you're on a dirt job. If you're on a dirt job and let's say it rains hard Sunday evening, all the way to Sunday night, all the way to maybe Monday morning. If not, you may not work Monday morning. And if it's in the
Mhm.
winter or if it's like a little cold, you may not work until about Tuesday, Wednesday, because the dirt has to dry.
Mm,
But if it's the summertime, one day you probably be back Tuesday. So if it rains Sunday, you'll be down Tuesday. Monday, you'll be back up Tuesday. But that's the con. One of the cons of driving a dump truck is whatever material you're hauling, you may have a few off days. But a good owner operator if he sees you as a valuable driver, he will pay you something on those days
I was going to ask that.
just to keep them pockets going.
Take care, taking care of your drivers. You're
Yes,
going to put something
yes,
in their pockets. Okay.
yes.
All right. What about you've got a week of bad weather, or it's raining all week. You're off.
So that comes to business acumen. That comes to how well do you value that driver.
Okay.
If a driver's not making money, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to leave. They're going to find some
Right.
other. So you have to find avenues to still be able to pay your driver. That may be, hey, it's not raining today. We don't have any work today, but hey, come up here up to the yard. Hey, let's do a pre-trip on the truck. Let's look at the truck. Let's get this asphalt out the back of the truck that we was lingering for a couple of weeks. You can find work for them that you're able to pay them for, so you can keep them going to where they're not just sitting at the house and
Right.
they're not making
But
anything.
yeah, I just want to stay so because I want to stay true to and let me say this because it's realistically
Mhm,
that's how you run your business. But
mhm,
we know that everybody doesn't run their business that way, even though they should.
mhm.
They should, or most good companies would do that. But are there people out here that don't do that, that don't take care of their
Well,
drivers?
most definitely that, and
Okay.
that's how you sometimes you get some good drivers. If they're
Right.
not being
Right.
taken care of,
Right.
they will definitely drivers talk. Hey man,
Right.
hey, I heard GHM Transportation is paying $25, and hey, they pay on rain days. They give you 4 hours of
Right.
your salary. So
Right.
let's say if you getting paid $20 an hour, I'll give you 4 hours just for the sake of
Wow.
what I'm
Right.
saying,
Right.
just to keep your pockets going. So yeah, it's some companies out here that are running their
Oh,
companies
okay.
that way.
Okay. So the con is the negative side of that is when we have bad weather, inclement weather, slow season. Let's quickly talk about the slow season because this is going to go over into other areas of what we're talking about. Let's talk about the slow season. And is there a slow season? What does that look like? The downside. What does it look like from that perspective?
So the slow season, it depends on your owner who you're driving for. If your owner wants his trucks to run year round, your owner is probably setting up something. He's probably switching that truck to some other material that's going to carry him through the winter.
Mhm.
Such
So
as,
the winter is the slow season.
yes, because and most people say, oh, because construction shuts down. I wouldn't say construction shuts completely down. They shut
Correct.
down for holidays. They don't shut down completely because construction still needs to be put up. What
Stuff's
happens
being
is,
built. Yeah.
yes, what happens is, okay, the industry is made up of different material. Like you got asphalt. You can do asphalt. You can do dirt. You can haul rock. You can haul sand. You can haul gravel. So just imagine when the peak season, all these different materials are moving at once. Everything is flowing. Like right now in April, it's about to be April. Everything is going to be wide open. Well, when it gets cold, under 45 degrees, you can't lay asphalt. So let's imagine it's been under 45 degrees for the last month. All asphalt jobs are shut down. So what are trucks trying to do now? They're trying to go off to those other materials that are still moving.
Mhm.
Well, the smart thing to do is, okay, since it's about to get cold, let me start to maybe pull a truck and put it on with some sand, or put it on with some rock, or let me establish another pathway, another material, and have that connection, have that relationship with them. So when asphalt does shut down, I can just go ahead and move my trucks over to this lane and keep it moving. So, but I will say that it's not that construction shuts down; it's just asphalt shuts down, and then that pushes all the asphalt. If you've been on asphalt all year, now you have all those asphalt trucks. Trucks have been on asphalt trying to move to other materials that people have been hauling all year. So it kind of seems like, man, there's no work out here. No, it's just asphalt shut down. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
So that's typically if you're with a good company, they'll keep you busy or keep you straight during the slow season or the perceived slow season,
yeah,
and I guess that's going to determine who you're working for, more or
yes.
less.
And
Okay,
and I
all right,
know, I'm right now. I was just speaking from a down south perspective, but up north they have contracts for shoveling, for hauling snow, salt, all different type of things
gotcha,
that carry over
gotcha,
when you're in the winter too. So
gotcha.
it's just about learning how
Where
to pivot and making those relationships.
Gotcha. So that's good. It's good that you spoke to that because, of course, people looking at this from everywhere.
Mhm.
So there's some areas where they may not have those same issues. All right, good. So we talked about the pros and cons of being a company driver for the dump truck sector. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my 2 cents on the pros and cons of being a company driver um, from a tractor trailer standpoint. So let's talk about the pros first. The pros are, get on with a good company. You're working. There's work out there, so you're going to be able to go. Going to be able to keep busy. You don't have that to worry about in regards to. You can be slow with anybody depending upon where you're working. But the truth of the matter is, if you're coming out, let's first talk about obtaining the CDL license. You got to go through the school full length. 9 times out of 10, and I've seen this over the years doing a lot of recruiting, job fairs, things of that nature. All drivers want to come into the industry and want to be home on a regular basis. That's just a dream thing. That's not going to happen because there are just things that are happening in the industry. The average, company that would probably want to hire you, they don't have the ability. They're not self-insured. They don't have a captive program, and a lot of these they just don't have the ability to bring you on, or their insurance is not going to pick you up. So you're going to have to probably go into one of the larger major carriers that are going to put you over the road, and you're going to have to be, and they're self-insured, so they can do that, and they have programs for that. So the pros are you'll get work. You'll get work. What the average pay is going to look like? New people coming out right out of school, $500-700 a week, 1,000 if you know what I mean. If you're lucky, because of course no experience, they're not paying you a lot per mile, so you're going to have to really bust your butt to get up in that $1,000 range as a company driver. Going over that, starting out, not going to do a whole lot of that. And that's the pros is you'll be able to get to work and you'll be able to make money relatively easy. The cons are simply the thing that everybody dreads is being on the road, being over the road, being gone. And in a lot of instances, you're out over the road and you're gone, and you may not get home every week. That's not always realistic. Sometimes you're going away from your family. That's the price you pay to get the experience and to be able to make the money at the same time. But some people love that. So that's not necessarily a con, because some people love traveling. They love driving. They love being over the road. They live for that. So that's the realistic look at coming into the industry as a company driver in a big rig. The pros are you'll be working. The cons are you're going to be away from home. You're going to be gone. The money's not quite all the way there yet, but you're earning a living. You're earning a good, honest living.
What is that? What does that money look like?
Like I said, I've seen guys that are coming out that are new, just coming out of school, getting on, they're riding with a trainer. $700 a week. $500-700 a week. If they get 1,000 a week, they're lucky. You know what I mean? Just while they're riding with a trainer. After they do that for a minute, they're in a truck by themselves, and then again, it will then depend. It will depend on because it's so broad. Big carriers, and of course I haven't driven and talked to somebody doing that, riding, starting out in so long, but I just talking to drivers, if they're making $1,000 a week, they're doing pretty good starting out, coming out. There's typically about 1,000 or less. And you're not going to get above that until you really, get some experience up under your belt. And you start to do some things a little bit different, which is what we're going to talk about. But those are the pros and cons. We're also going to get into the changes in the industry that are coming. So let's now talk about it from a business perspective, from an owner operator, small fleet owner, or a fleet owner. What are the pros and cons? Because we know the money changes. When we become an owner operator, or when we become a fleet owner, we start buying equipment, getting our own authority, starting our business, the money changes. So what are the pros and cons of now being a fleet owner, having trucks? What are the pros to that? Are the pros, is it about the money? Is it about the money? And of course, we know that changes. So talk about that from a dump trucking perspective.
So the pros from dump trucking, from being a fleet owner, I would have to say is the money, of course. You're going
It's
you own the fleet, you own the company, you manage the company, so you dictate how well the company does. It's your company, so you have the autonomy to if it does bad, that's on you. But if it's a amazing company, that's on you as well. So I think just being in that driver's seat to be able to build something and to grow something, to grow a fleet, I think that's amazing itself. But also being an owner operator, owning a fleet in dump trucking, there's so much work that the infrastructure build is. They're building apartments everywhere, left and right. You see all different type of things being built, especially here in Atlanta. So there's so much work. There's always things you can come with. It's always relationships you can build. I thought about some things as well. For me, on the operator, there's so many different avenues of work that you can tap into for its grading, dirt work, asphalt, rock hauling, gravel, help building bridges. You can tap into the government sector, the local, the state, the federal. There's so many different avenues. You also then you have you can do stock pallet quarries. You can also you can do residential stuff because people they have sinkholes in the back of their yard and they hate them because a lot of times the water and just everything how it flows in the back of the yard just creates a puddle at times. So we haul dirt for them, have a grader with a bobcat come level off the dirt. That's an easy, quick job. I like those, but I don't like those because sometimes you can't plan for people's backyard, what's in their backyard. But
let me ask you this question from a business perspective.
Mhm.
From a higher level perspective, the ability to scale and grow.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the cost of equipment now.
Okay.
We know that equipment's gone up tremendously. We know
Yes.
it's gone up tremendously. So what does it look like? What's the average cost of a dump truck now, a used truck? And then
Used
what are
truck,
the new ones looking like right now?
man. Now these used ones are whew, but average truck you can get depending on the year. I wouldn't go no lower than about 06,
Mhm.
06 up. You looking at around depending on the truck 70 to well I've seen 65 to up in the hundreds. Depending on
Wow.
the mileage,
Wow.
how many. But I'll say this: the value of those trucks keep going up. The value
Okay.
they rarely use. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example. My first truck I bought was for $55,000. In 3 years, that truck would have sold for $70,000, $80,000 easily. Just
Wow.
the value
Wow.
of it. So the
Wow.
value of those trucks are very, you have the hydraulic system, the PTO, just all the mechanism that comes with the dump truck. It really it holds
So, so,
value.
so you're telling me dump trucks are not depreciating in value as quick? Okay.
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
they're not. No, they're not.
That's okay.
Because one thing, and maybe this is my theory, but I'm gonna stand on it. You can't recreate what we do. You can't put any gravel or dirt into a pickup truck. Or well, you can, but it's gonna be
Or a
hard to
tractor
get it right.
trailer.
Or
Or
a
tractor
tractor.
trailer.
Well, you can
Tractor
do it.
trailer.
You can do a dump trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
dump.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
even with a dump trailer, dump trucks, we can get into smaller spaces that dump trailers can't. So our
Right.
maneuverability is a little different.
Right.
But you can't recreate what we're doing. How else are you going to move 18, 19, 20 tons of any type of material other than a dump truck or some, I don't see any other alternative. So yes, dump trucks hold value. They really do.
So one of the things I'm looking at here, in regards to some of the pros, versatility, efficient unloading, maneuverability, which is what you just covered, and
Mhm,
just overall stability.
mhm.
Due to their design and configuration, dump trucks offer good stability even when carrying heavy loads. So
Yeah.
they're saying they're more stable
Because
from that.
because of the suspension system. Suspension system is built off leaf springs and axles and that type of thing. Dump trucks is I'm not sorry. 18 wheelers is more airbags,
Right.
which is why I recommend people do not get converted dump trucks because the suspension system is built off airbags. And when you if you ever seen a dump truck, when you're letting the material off, all the weight shifts to the back, and most times there's airbags back there, and if that weight shifts, I've
It's gonna
seen
it's
I've
gonna
seen
bust
a
those
pop.
airbags.
I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
literally dumping, and I heard a loud pop. I said, "What is that?" And it was an
Right.
airbag that. So and those that is very scary. Plus, just imagine airbags, they bounce. So when that material's on it, the truck rocks and sways. And so, yeah, dump trucks are very, very stable, very strong.
So earning potential from a business end, from a business perspective, what does the earning potential look like for the dump truck sector? What does the earning potential look like?
I'll give you this example because I don't even want to say this. I'll give you this example. One of my trucks probably ran half the year. It just we had some catastrophic situations that we couldn't have planned for. Um, didn't run day and night, and that truck, I just looked at my accountant. That truck still brought in $110,000,
Okay.
and it
Okay.
ran half the year, and
Okay.
it was in and out the shop. So
Okay.
so
Okay.
a truck easily 150, 200 you can bring in with a
Right.
truck.
So let's talk. That's good. That's good. That's the type. That's what people want to hear.
hmm
They want to know how they're going to make money. And
hmm
and we're talking about from a business standpoint why I would want to go into that. Let's also talk about. You said one thing. What if you ran it around the clock? Couple shifts. Let's talk about maximum earning potential in the dump truck because we realistically want to look at the low end,
hmm
high end, maximum earning potential. If I've got a dump truck and I
hmm
run it 2 shifts,
hmm
day, then I run it a second shift. And I know
hmm
there's in some instances they're third shifts, correct?
Uh, well, no, I wouldn't say it's a third shift because that day shift is usually between the morning hours, maybe like let's say 6
Coming into the
to
evening.
yeah, coming to evening, and then I mean if you can fit something in between 5 and 7 or 5 and 8, maybe
Okay.
that's a third shift.
Okay.
If you get
Okay.
some quick little hitters, I don't know, but most times, that's when you're taking the truck back to prepare it for the night work. So
Okay.
and the
Okay.
night
All right.
work is carry on to the next morning. So yeah,
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
see it.
So primarily 2 shifts. So
Now, if you want to say third shift on the weekends, then maybe,
okay. Okay. All right.
maybe.
So let's just look at 5 days a week.
Okay.
You're running the truck, a dump truck, 2 shifts,
Okay.
and your average rate. What type of money are you making there? Are you charging on the per hour basis, on
Depends
an
on the job.
hourly?
Depends on the
Okay.
job. Hourly,
Okay.
it could be hourly, it could be tonnage, or it could be by the load.
Okay. So
So
what kind of money can you make a day
uh,
with a dump truck? Let's look at what type of money you can make daily, and then
uh,
what type of money that truck can make weekly.
okay, so daily, I'll give you low end $100 minimum an hour. hundred
Okay.
dollars. Let's say I like to use 10 hours, but you may not get the 10 every day. But let's just say
Mhm.
for instance at 10 hours. So you get there at 6 in the morning, and you may get off at 4. So 10 hours a day, $100 an hour, that's $1,000. Let's say you turn around and you make another 800 at night. That's 800 for that day. So you times that by 5. If we're going 5 days, 800
Mhm.
times 5. Now there's jobs that pay more than that. I was just on a job last week, did maybe 4 or 5 loads, made $1,500, $1,600 just on a day shift. So
Okay.
it can go up to that as well. So it really just depends on the job, depends on what the rate is, what you're hauling. But just if you go $100 minimum an hour, we're just gonna talk an hour,
Mhm.
and you do 8 to 10 hours a day, and then turn around, put on a night shift, making the same for another 8 to 10 hours a day. That's just to give
Mhm.
you a baseline of the type of money you can make,
Right.
and that's on the low end.
All right. So we could be talking potentially $2,000 a day is potentially realistic.
Easily.
Okay. Trucks at home and a driver's at home because now we're talking two different drivers, of course, but
Yes.
drivers are at home every
Now,
day.
now I this is illegal, but since the
That's,
dump
that's,
trucks,
that's
oh no,
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
okay,
ahead.
no,
Go
I
ahead.
was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, like, I have seen this
Mhm.
guys doing double shifts,
Got it.
like
But
they will
what does
stay.
that look like from a DOT perspective? Because you guys
That's
are
what I'm saying.
local and
That's what I'm saying.
okay, okay,
Yeah, that's what
okay.
I'm saying.
All right.
It's not good, and it's not safe because what happens is they go work in the morning all the way to that 4 o'clock 5.
Mhm.
They go find somewhere. They probably go park closer to where they're gonna do the second shift, take a quick nap, and then they're back
Okay.
working that night. But just think about that. One
Yeah.
wrong nods at night, and
Yeah.
it's over with.
That's a
So
wrap. Okay.
yeah.
So pros are from a business standpoint, that truck can make a truck has a potential to bring home $10,000 a week or to gross about 10 grand a week.
Yes, if it's
Okay.
running day and night, yes,
Okay. All
yes.
right. So what does your fuel expenses look like on
Fuel,
something like that? On something like that.
now fuel varies because on asphalt you may sit a lot. Like asphalt, the reason why people love asphalt so much is because what they call in 18 wheeler detention time. You have a
Right.
lot of detention time depending on the job. If there's a job where you're doing asphalt and milling, so that means
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to the asphalt plant, I'm gonna bring the asphalt back, I have to come back, get in line because there's other trucks waiting to dump into the asphalt spreader.
Mhm.
That may take, depending on how many trucks. Like I've been on jobs where it's 20, 30, 40 trucks out there. I'm
Wow.
sitting behind those trucks, I may do 2 loads a day, 2 loads a
Wow.
night.
Right.
And
Right.
what that looks like is I'm going to the asphalt plant, I come back, I get in line, I'm sitting, I'm waiting to dump. That may take 2, 3 hours. Once I get into the asphalt spreader, I dump my asphalt. They make sure everything is out. Then I hop in another line to wait to get milling. And milling is when they're breaking up the old asphalt, and so they can, and they break it up. There's a machine, and they shoot it in the back of our truck, what they call
Okay.
millings. And then after that, we take the millings back to the asphalt plant, and they do whatever they do with the recycle or whatever. But you also have to get in line to wait to do that as well. So I may do 2 of those turnarounds, and
Okay.
that's my shift for the night. So
Okay.
that's why people love asphalt, because you don't burn much fuel. You're
Okay.
sitting, you're idling. But when you're doing dirt, when people need dirt moved, and say the dirt location is 45 minutes away or something,
Mm.
you're going to burn a lot of fuel. So it's really, that's why it's good to get on jobs where you're going to know where you're going to be for 6, 7, 8 months, because you can really manage your finances. I know that job, we've been on it for a month or two now. That job takes $100 in fuel. I know that this job takes X amount of dollars, you know what I'm saying? So you can really judge how much the fuel is. But if you have, what they call in the agent guaranteed contracts,
Right.
guaranteed lanes,
Right.
yeah, that is the goal, to get there so you can manage your finance. But fuel fluctuates. But I know a tank, depending on, so we have 50-gallon tanks. We 100 to 150 sometimes. It depends. If the gas gets if diesel gets over $4, yeah, we finna put the 150, 140. But if it's in the threes, we can get away with $100
Okay.
fuel.
Okay. Right. Right. Okay. So on our business side, growing a fleet, a truck has the potential to do $5,000 to $10,000 a week, depending upon if it's doing if you're charging hourly,
Mhm,
and if you're running, depending upon if you're running 1 to 2 shifts. Okay,
mhm,
so let me now dive into from the tractor trailer side, growing a fleet, and of course my area of expertise is, and I want to tell people this: the pros and cons are, and there's a big factor at the end of this that I've got to put a lot of emphasis on for both sectors of the industry. The pros and cons on the tractor trailer side. The pros are there's work out there. The pros are there's a lot of work out there if you know what you're doing. The pros are you've got the diversity in the type of freight that one can move, from a business standpoint, secure dedicated contracts. Because when you get into the industry and you're looking at growing a fleet and building a company, when you start talking about growing a fleet, this is where people tend to mess up when they come into trucking. The pie is not big enough to come in and go from I'm an owner operator and now I want to get a second and third truck. In some instances, yes, that'll work. Where I can take my truck and put my truck on somewhere, but at this point, I've got to have my own authority, and I've now have to go and secure my own business, secure my own freight. We're going to talk about the whole aspect of selling and the importance of that. The pros are, if you, which a lot of truckers don't do, small fleet owners, they rely on the load boards, and that's where I say people go to die. As a trucking company, as a fleet owner, your main source of business is brokers and load boards. That can work in some instances and help you to grow your fleet. But my point is, learning how to market, manage, and grow your own company is essential in getting your own dedicated freight. Because really, the only true way to grow and scale is consistency. The best way to grow is consistency, and consistency comes with dedicated freight opportunities. Low board doesn't necessarily offer you that on a much larger scale. So you got to be able to have the ability to go be able to market and sell. One of the big questions people used to always ask my partner and I when they saw us growing our fleet was, how do we get contracts? How do we get? And my response was always, who's selling? Who's selling? If nobody's selling, the business is not going to come knock on your door. So the pros are you can grow an enormous fleet. You have the ability to do that. The pros are from a business perspective, it's a business you can become a millionaire. Yeah, you can become a millionaire. Yeah, you can grow that fleet from 1 to 20 to 30 to 40 trucks. I've done it. I know. Yes, you can grow it there. The pros are the freight is there. There's a lot of diversity in the types of freight that you can haul and all that you can do with an 18-wheeler. Yes, but the negatives, the cons are it's very expensive. I call trucking the black hole. It's where money goes to die if you don't know what you're doing. The profit margins are thin, and I always talk about this in my courses that the expenses are many. The expenses are many at every turn because we're looking at the expenses of running that truck versus a dump truck. That over the road, the wear and tear on the truck is enormous. The money you're spending on tires, on fuel, constant maintenance, insurance. Insurance is astronomical. So it's heavy cost, heavy expenses. The expenses are major. And that's the cons to it. That's one of the negatives of the industry. And I saw when my partner and I, when we got to 20 units, I realized just how much money we were spending on our expenses, on fuel, daily, weekly, monthly, on maintenance. At that point, you got to hire your own mechanic, on just the costs associated with owning equipment. I got there and realized that I didn't want to be in that space. I did not want to own equipment. And then I realized there was a great emphasis on developing an owner-operator program and putting a greater emphasis, which I always did, on selling, securing freight, securing better freight opportunities, better paying freight opportunities, developing the culture in the company, and growing the business. So, there are great opportunities in freight, but as in everything, you have to do it the right way. You have to do it the right way. Trucking is just, it's a brutal business. The rate of failure is high. It's a high rate of failure coming into the industry. The amount of people that come out and get authorities and people see it and, trucking, yeah, it's money in trucking because it's the backbone of the American economy. But at the same token, what people don't do is get education, which leads to failure, which leads to, we see the money, but we have no idea. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So from a business and a fleet perspective.
I say this too, to kill on those points. One of the advantages of being local, having dump trucks is there's been times I've been on jobs where I've had a blunder. I've had a tire fail me, or I've had a situation, my truck just acting up, but I had jobs or what I call in like my ecosystem where I know, okay, I know this mechanic down the street. He can do this. Oh, that's a tire shop I've been to. I know they'll take care. Oh man, I got this guy here. He's a diesel mechanic. He actually mobile. So I was able to hurry up, call them. Hey, can you come fix this one? And then boom, get back in rotation before they even knew that I was even down.
Out. Yeah.
And I still be able to make money, which is. Over the road, you may be in Kansas somewhere where you don't know anybody.
Got to have roadside service. Got to have processes set up in order for your operations to run smoothly. And again, the negatives. And I want to talk about what's happening in the industry as a whole right now. And I want to get to that because we're. I want to talk about from an investment standpoint, pros and cons of investing in the industry. I've had a lot of individuals over the years that I've seen, that I've met with, that I've advised, consulted for, that want to come into the trucking industry from an investment standpoint. They want to invest. I want to invest in trucking. I hear trucking industry is big. I hear it's very important. And I'm going to simply say this, which is something that I find that most people don't do. And it really all boils down to one thing, and that's getting education. Doesn't matter which sector you decide to go in. Get education. Take your time. I tell people, don't be in a rush to go fail, and don't be in a rush to go throw your money away, because that is often what happens to people that come running into this blindly, and they don't do their homework thoroughly, whether it be dump trucks or tractor trailers. Find a mentor, find someone that you can align yourself with, and you know what? Don't be cheap. Pay an advisor, pay a consultant, pay someone who has real experience at doing this. Too often, and I'm not throwing dirt, but I want to speak very honestly. Too often, I've seen people that have come into the industry that are either coming in it from an investment standpoint, or I'm getting into trucking, and primarily from an investment standpoint, and they know someone that's convinced them to come into trucking, and and they'll say, well, hey, my cousin, he's been in the trucking industry for 30 years, and he's and been in the trucking industry doing what is what I asked.
does not convert him to knowing a business, how to run
Yeah,
it.
being in the trucking industry doing what for 20, 30 years. If your cousin's been a driver in the trucking industry for 20 or 30 years, do they know how to run a trucking company? Do they know how to run a business? And that's different. And they think that translates to experience and knowledge. No, that translates to experience and knowledge and being a driver. Has nothing to do with running a business, right? A high level business. So it's a place, it's an industry where people come and lose money often because they don't know, and they won't take the time to educate or get the proper education. And this is not something that you should rush into. Take your time, get education, do a lot of reading, research, talk to people. And not only that, you need to talk to people that are more than just drivers. Talk to experts. Find someone who's done it at the high level. Get on a LinkedIn and network and find people, and just find a mentor. Find someone who's willing to help you to navigate through the industry and talk about the realistic challenges. And that's what we wanted to really discuss today, is what are the pros and cons of both sides of the industry? What does it look like to be in the dump truck space? What kind of money can I make? What advice would you give someone? And now, because we talked about, we didn't want this to be a debate. I wanted you to kind of us to both realistically talk about the pros and the cons. And I don't know if we've covered that as in depth as we probably could, because we had some technical difficulties and that may have thrown us off a little bit. But what advice would you give someone if you were, of course, I know you're an advocate for dump truckers because you're the founder of the National Dump Trucking Association.
Of course.
So what advice would you give someone if they came to you and said, hey, Mr. Smith, I'm thinking about getting into trucking. I'm thinking about whether or not I would go tractor trailer dump truck. As a driver and as an investor and a business owner, how would you sell me and convince me to come into your sector, the industry, and why?
First, I would evaluate what's important to them. What is important to you? If family, if being home, if again being local, having flexibility to be around your family is priority. It's dump trucking all the way.
Mhm.
To be honest, and I don't mean to do this, but of course I'm just dump trucking all the way. But I say come dump trucking either way. Anything you say, I'm gonna say still dump trucking is the best. But I also say get educated, as like you just said. You join some associations, which is why we are having the National Dump Trucking Association to educate people in this sector, because there was no education out there. There was nobody that was really truly educating people how to successfully get into the dump truck industry and be successful. It's easy to help people get into it. Anybody can go, hey, just go buy a truck. I can give you this. What about the education? What about actually learning how the financial aspect of it, the how to set up a safety and compliance program, where to go to get the best insurance rates, where to go get your CDLs, where to what is my system set? What does my operations look like? Where are my mechanics? What type of mechanics do I need? What type of business do I need to go and get? Like, where do I get business? Who do I sell to? How do I sell? That's what the
Absolutely.
education is for. And
Absolutely.
a lot of times we skip that process. We skip that process, and once we get into it, we start to throw money into problems. We just throwing money into problems, hoping that, all right, if I fix this problem, I can I get it back. But like you just said, trucking is a black hole, and when you don't have that education, you don't know how to maneuver out of that. You're just gonna be throwing money into a bottomless pit, and then next thing you know, you're gonna hit credit cards, and then next thing you know,
You're out of business.
call them later on. They say, yeah,
Yeah.
man, I had to get out of that. And
Right.
the thing I've seen, that's where, you know, the people who that happens to them, and I get it. They'll go and tell other people who want to get into it, nah, man, don't mess with dump trucking, man. That's not a good field, man. No, man, it sucks. Whatever they tell you, don't. No, it's because you didn't get educated. You didn't take the time to set up your business the right way. You
Right.
didn't know what you didn't know. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
And I want to say something too. This is very important. And this is a thought before we go. For people that feed off of the trucking industry, for people and organizations and companies that the existence of your business is predicated on doing business with the trucking industry. I want people to listen, because when I started NMTA, my focus and my expertise became in how to properly educate people in the trucking industry. That had always been my emphasis. So I say to companies, whether you be a factoring company, a fuel company, insurance, maintenance, technology, whatever it is, if you do business with the trucking industry, partner with and support organizations that are committed to educating truckers. I'm going to say that again. Partner with and support organizations that are committed to educating truckers. Well, Kevin, why do you say that? Because if truckers are better educated, they stay in business. They have a greater chance of survival and staying in business. When they're not, they tend not to make it. Truckers can't spend money with you if they're not in business. And I said this once, and people looked at me as if they'd never heard that concept before. How can a trucker buy insurance if he's not in business? How can a trucker purchase a truck or insurance if he's not in business? Partner with an organization like an NDTA who's committed to educating, and support that effort and that cause. Because when these truckers are successful and stable, because they've been properly educated on how to become better entrepreneurs and how to better manage their businesses, when they survive and you support that, you then have loyal, educated customers, longtime customers that are loyal to you when you support their growth and educating them and becoming better entrepreneurs. And that's just simply it. Whether you be in a dump truck or a tractor trailer, you have to get education. I always say truckers are trained to drive trucks, not build businesses. So whatever sector you decide to come into, look at the pros and cons, understand it, join an organization or somewhere that will teach you how to do this properly. And it's unfortunate. You and I talked about this in a previous episode. There are now so many experts out here that are there's a master class everywhere. There's somebody out here everywhere that's teaching something. Everybody's an expert now. And you know, again, everybody doesn't always have the receipts. Look into and I have to just say this because I do care. Look into the organizations or individuals that are professing to be training and educating, and see if they really have any real knowledge and experience, if they have receipts. Because oftentimes a lot of people don't. The industry is filled with piranhas. And it's unfortunate, but that's what this industry is, and that's the reality of it. It's filled with piranhas, and piranhas at the lowest level to the highest level. And everybody's trying to make money off of the truckers. Find a good source and a good place to go and get education.
The one thing I'm sorry.
Yeah, just get business education, not just know the industry and the pros and the cons and the pitfalls of the industry, but get fundamental business education on how to manage and run a business, because that's what determines whether or not you're going to be successful. I had a doctor sitting in one of my classes, my how to start and maintain a successful trucking business class, and he was a brain surgeon, and he came in and because I was making a point, I said, you've been to school to learn how to heal people, but that doesn't mean you know how to run a business.
I agree.
You know what I mean? You got CPA. It doesn't mean you know how to run a business, a doctor, or whatever the case may be. Does that equate to knowing how to manage and run a company just because you can do this thing well? And there are people that come into this with high business acumen, but trucking is different. And again, knowing how to manage and run a company and lead people. There's a lot of deep things there. So go ahead, Malcolm. What were you saying there?
What I was going to say is that the great thing about the National Dump Trucking Association, we, of course, I have put all my knowledge, everything into the dump trucking courses that we have. But the one thing we have, and I know I'm not an expert at legal. I'm not an expert at safety and compliance. I'm not an expert at the business plan. I'm not an expert at, insurance. That's where we have taken, and we've gone to get the best experts that we can. That's a part of our team that are partners with our association, to say, hey, when anything comes into that arena, hey, go talk to the safety and compliance guy. Hey, go talk to the legal guy. Hey, go talk to we have an accountant that's a partnership. That's the education piece that we have. It's not just us. We have a whole
Absolutely.
team. We have a whole partnerships with the experts of what they do. This is a legal person. That's what they do every day.
Right. Understanding how to avoid those pitfalls. That's excellent. That's excellent. So, like we said, in shoring up, um, just understanding the pros and the cons of both sectors, how to navigate through those, and again, being successful in either side is ultimately going to require you knowing how to go out and market and sell your business. Here's one of the things that truckers on all ends, and you and I talked about this even in the dump trucking sector. How do you go get customers?
You want me to tell my story?
No, well, we don't have time. We're
Okay.
going to do that
Okay.
in another segment.
Okay.
But how do we go get customers? How do we do that? How do we sell? Again, shameless plug. There's a link in the description box on relationship selling and how to bid on trucking contracts. This is years of experience in understanding how to do that properly, not just how to make the cold calls, but how to get in the doors, how to present yourself, how to put your marketing materials together, how to put everything together so that you can look like a professional. And then when there's a bid opportunity, how to bid, how to properly do that. So these are the things that determine whether or not you get business, whether or not you sustain business, whether or not you grow and scale that company. And you have experience at that in the dump trucking sector, and likewise on the trucking industry. So these are the pros and cons. These are things that determine whether or not one is successful. So what is, very quickly, and we're going to say this before we wrap, what is the pros and cons of selling in your sector, Malcolm? What does that look like? Acquiring business to be able to grow my fleet, or how do I grow? What does that look like?
It really determines. First, you have to learn the industry. You have to learn who you're going at. Where's the work? You have to learn what type of construction companies am I going at. Like certain construction companies, they won't. They are the GCs and they're subcontracting the work out to a civil site company. Then you have to go to the civil site company and sell. So you have to figure that out first. You have to figure out the direction. But that's learning where to go and sell first. That's the first thing, and then learning techniques about how to sell, how to market myself, how do I present myself when I'm selling.
Right.
Those different type of caveats. That's those are important.
So are there certain types of companies that you look for in the dump trucking sector?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Asphalt, civil site companies, which is grading. You have people, quarries,
Construction
different, just any construction, grading, silver site, heavy road construction, which is asphalt, paving the highways. There's so many different different things, avenues, which that's why, again, I keep saying I love dump trucking, because when one avenue may not be giving you what you need, you can always pivot. So,
Right. So I want to give a brief commentary on where the trucking industry as a whole, where it is right now in 2024. Over the last year, I'll say over the last year to year and a half, I've had a lot of truckers, and Malcolm, I know you've seen this too, that have parked their trucks. I was talking to someone in the insurance industry last year that says, he says, Kevin, I've never seen it like this. I've never seen so many people getting out of their trucks, selling their trucks, parking their trucks. We're talking tractor trailers. They're just walking away from trucking industry. I was working with a client, and then I've had people call me over the last year that just simply freight's not there. And historically, these are people and small businesses that are living off of the load board. And the truckers that are in the industry, that are their primary source of business coming from the load boards, they're losing. The freight's not there. The freight's not there. So if I were talking to someone about which sector of the industry to go into as a driver, from a business perspective, and I'm the tractor trailer guy, but I would be hesitant to tell someone to go into the 18-wheeler space right now. If I cared, if I were just about making money and I were to benefit from it, I probably still wouldn't, because I had someone that I was sitting down with a few weeks ago, and I just said, don't do it right now, because it's a tough time in the industry. And if you don't have the ability to go and sell your business and market your business, you're going to go out here and your chances of failure, it's pretty great. If you're looking at the load board and that's where you're going to think you're going to go out here and just going to tear up the trucking industry, that's not realistic, because that's not going to happen right now. The industry has changed. It's changing. The economy is just not. And I always tell people, we know, as the trucking industry, we're the indicators of what the economy looks like. Look at the flow of freight. We can determine what the economy looks like based on the capacity, freight capacity, and it's tough out there. And guys, I always say it's like the tree. All the weak branches and the weak leaves are falling off, and that's what we see with individuals that are parking their trucks, individuals that are selling their trucks. These are individuals that don't know how to go out and market and compete and sell. And that's what, if you're going to stay into the trucking sector, the 18-wheeler sector, better get a sales program. There's still freight out there, but you got to get a sales program. The load board is just not it. So if I were to tell someone, I don't see a downside to dump trucks right now. We're building, and we've got to keep building. New construction, roads and bridges, infrastructure projects, World Cup. There's just some more highway. There's always the dump trucks. It's not going anywhere. And I was having a conversation about a week ago with someone in the industry. We were talking about how many drivers are without jobs over the last year to 2 years. And the numbers is six figures. The numbers is astronomical. And we're just talking about people are bailing from the 18-wheeler sector, and they're now looking at the dump trucking sector and looking at that as the new lane. It's the new lane to go in if you're going to be in trucking. So if we were keeping score, dump trucking sector may be winning right now. It may be winning. But again, earning potential in trucking, it's still phenomenal. The opportunities still exist, but there's no room for mediocre businesses, mediocre operations. There's no room for that. So if your goal or intent is to come into this industry, come into this sector and grow and scale, you got to be about the business of trucking, not just driving a load from point A to point B, but you got to be about the business of trucking, and you got to understand how to manage and properly run a business. So that would be my take. Malcolm, do you have any last thoughts before we get out today?
No, I think if we were Shannon and Stephen A, I think I got this one.
You think you got this one?
Nah, but man, just same thing you said. Just education, learning how to sell, setting up your business the right way, and not cutting corners, because if you cut corners, it's only gonna hurt you. So that's all I really have to say. And also join associations that help you become the best. What is this, driver, owner, operator, business, learning how to become a better entrepreneur. Get the education, because it's very important. You can't skip that step. I don't care
No,
what you.
no. And that's the primary reason for failure, regardless to what side, any business or industry. I always say, how do you go into a business and not become a subject matter expert? How do you do that? Why am I going into business and I'm going to go out? Like my coach said to me a few years back when I launched my master class, 4 or 5 years ago. And we were talking about what I charged for a 6-month master class. And we were just talking about the fee. And he said something to me that was so profound. He says, what's the average cost of a tractor trailer? And we talked about, starting at a decent truck, starting at 50,000 and going upwards. He says, so people are willing to pay $50,000 and go, for invest $50,000 and go into an industry with a high failure rate, potentially a 90% failure rate, and they won't spend a few $1,000s to get a real detailed, comprehensive educational course. It's like, that's preposterous. And that's often what people do. They come into this having no clue, not really taking the time to talk to people who have done it at the highest level. And they go and invest money because they only see trucking makes sense. Yeah, truckers are out here to running up and down the highway, and they just automatically think they're going to make money. Or somebody says, yeah, you can get loads off the load board. And, and that's where they get there, and they don't realize until they wake up. And one last thing, and you said something earlier, and I always said this, that money hides ignorance. Money hides ignorance. People can come in and throw money at things and cover up mistakes and a lack of knowledge, and you know what I mean? And you can mask that for a while, but ultimately it's going to show up. What you know and what you don't know is ultimately going to show up, because at some point you got to have to turn a profit. You're going to have to turn a profit at some point, and you won't be able to mask it for long. So again, the bottom line is get education. Get education, get education, get education. Ask someone who knows, and ask someone who's actually done it. Ask someone who's actually done it and has experience, and someone that has receipts.
Yes.
And then someone that has receipts and real success stories. Not just anyone out here saying, I'm going to teach you this class on how to go do this and how to get into a box truck business, or how to get into this space, or whatever the case may be, but people that have real experience. That's my advice in determining whether or not you want to come into the trucking industry. So Malcolm, with that being said, it's been a great conversation. I've enjoyed it. You've enlightened me. You've enlightened our listeners, I know, with a lot of great information and great tools. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 5 of the Truck Stop Podcast, Dump Truck versus Tractor Trailers. Hope you all learned something. Leave us a comment in the comment section. Please like, share, and subscribe. And also email us. Email us at info@truckstop-podcast.com. Again, that's info@truckstop-podcast.com. Email us, give us your thoughts, ideas. If you think you're a good candidate for our Fix My Trucking Company segment, where we help you fix, grow, repair your trucking business, send us some information. Tell us about what your struggles are, what your pain points are, and our team of coaches will get together and bring you on and address, consult, advise, and help you fix those pain points. All right. So anything else I'm missing, Malcolm?
No, you covered everything. We you You said everything today, and just want to say I appreciate everybody listening today, and hope everybody got something out of this. We're really trying to, like I say, cut down on the mistakes, and if this is where you want to be, come get the education and learn so you can be the best that you can, and have the greatest experience, so you don't, you know, come fail and then go and say I don't want to do that anymore, or that
Right.
industry is bad. So yeah.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all for listening. Have a blessed day.